In this video, we're going to show you how to install spring shackle brackets on your Nissan Frontier located at the back end of your leaf springs. Now we're going to go ahead and access our tools to drop the spare in the back of the vehicle. We're going to open up the back door on this particular model vehicle and flip down our back seat. On our quad cab model, you want to go ahead and drop the seat. There's a pull strap on this back beside the headrest. Pull it up and drop this down. You're going to go down behind the seat and access the tool bag. Go ahead and grab that bag. And on the inside of that black tool bag, you're going to find 3 rods and the spare lug wrench here. So what we're going to do is go ahead and pick out the rod that has the T on the end of it here, and then grab one of the other rods that will actually connect to this. Now you're not going to need the third one for this particular task. So you want to go ahead and take this T, and right above the step pad here, there's a hole. You want to go ahead and insert this here horizontally and slide this down inside the tube. And you're going to gently turn it left and right. And you should feel that engage into the spare tire assembly here. There it is, it locks into place. Now you're going to use a lug wrench tool here. It has a square hole in it here. Going to go ahead and install that, and we're going to rotate this here. Now, as we crank this counterclockwise, we should be lowering that spare tire. Now, in some cases, there may be some broken components. There may be a broken chain, or maybe the piece that holds the spare tire is broke. So you might need some assistance to go ahead and pull things apart underneath while you're cranking here. Now at this point, go ahead and remove the rod. Go ahead and set your tools aside. Now on your particular model vehicle, you probably just used a jack and you're using jack stands. So go ahead and lower that spare tire down until it hits the ground. And you want to make sure you have some slack in that chain. That way there, we can go ahead and lift up that spare. And there we go. Pop that out. And normally you can finagle this up through the middle. And there's that piece right there. Usually that chain or that loop right there might be broken and your spare might have fallen off, or maybe it's just not cranking. So go ahead and set that aside. I'm going to go ahead and remove the spare altogether. The leaf spring shackle bracket is on the back side of the frame here, behind the back wheels. There's one on the driver's side, one on the passenger side, and it supports the leaf spring. Now we want to go ahead and remove the 2 nuts here on the bolts that will allow this bracket to come off. Before we remove all that stuff there, let's go ahead and soak this down in some rust penetrant. I'm going to let that soak for a little bit. Now underneath the vehicle, we have our pole jack set up on the rear axle. And what we're going to do is we're going to raise this up a little bit. And we'll be working with this as we're removing that leaf spring shackle. We'll have to probably adjust this back and forth to get things to line up and pull bolts out and put bolts in. So make sure you have access to this here. Go ahead and raise that up. And we're hoping to take off or alleviate some pressure on that leaf spring shackle back there. Okay, now the vehicle's not quite coming off of our lift, but we do want to alleviate some of that pressure. Let's go ahead and go work on that bracket next. We use our 17mm socket with our ratchet here. I'll go ahead and try and loosen this. Go ahead and do the same for the lower. Let's go ahead and knock this outer plate off. Now our bracket itself comes down and it has 2 welded studs coming through. I'm going to use my air chisel and work on the back side here, trying to drive that out. And then we'll try and work on the top side as well. Now you can see as I remove this here, the spring is getting closer to the frame. We do have the axle supported here. So this will eventually, once this pops out, it's gonna rest on the frame. Go ahead and grab those bushings, work those out. We're gonna do the same on the other side. You wanna go ahead and clean the insides of both of these here. So if you put your finger in there and check for any rust, anything scaly, you want to go ahead and maybe run some 120 grit sandpaper or something just to kind of go in and clean that out. If you don't have a lot of rust, or after you've cleaned it with some sandpaper, simply use some solvent, run it in there. You want to clean these out. You don't want to have any debris or garbage in there when we install our new bushings. Do the same for the upper port here. Once you've cleaned these out, we now go ahead and install our bushings. We're going to apply some silicone paste onto this rubber bushing. This is the one of the longer bushings, and we're going to insert that into the frame. Just wipe off the excess around here. We're going to repeat this for the other side. We have the other bushing here. Simply line that up on the other side, feed that into the frame, and push that in. Wipe off any excess. We're going to repeat this process for the leaf spring. We have the shorter bushings for down here. We don't need a lot on there. Now at this point here, we can't install our bracket yet. We're going to lower our jack to get this to line up. Once we have that pressed in, take your bracket, the lower portion of the bracket with that little keyway on the bottom, put that down like that. Let's go ahead and tighten these down. The replacement hardware is an 18 millimeter. Let's go ahead and set our torque specs. Torque down the nuts here to 78 foot-pounds. Do the same for the lower. Once you've completed the driver's side, go ahead and repeat this for the passenger side. Now we have the spare tire underneath. Go ahead and feed that in. All right. Pretty much when we crank this up, it's going to go ahead and lift this tire up. I'm going to feed the rod through underneath, and you can see the rod come through with the T. It goes right inside and directs it right into our tool here. I'm going to go ahead and start to crank that clockwise. Let's get that locked in. And as we crank it, you can see that chain start to pull that up. Now as this comes up, you want to make sure that that tire seats flat. It's going to pull up at an angle, which is totally fine. And when you're tightening this here, you want to make sure that that spare is snug up against the bottom of the bed. Go ahead and remove your tool. Disassemble it. We're going to put all of our tools back into our carry bag, put these underneath or behind the back seat. And then we'll go ahead and remove the vehicle from the jack. And at that point there, you're all set.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.